Hi, friends. This is a special episode of Brains On. We're tackling some eerie topics like aliens and UFOs. It's a little spooky, and if that's not your thing, feel free to skip. But we want to talk about this because we think there's a lot we can learn from these stories and how people react to them. We'll also have plenty of regular Brains On stuff in the mix, too. Now, on with the show.
You're listening to Brains On, where we're serious about being curious.
Brains On is supported in part by a grant from the National Science Foundation.
Molly, I'm pumped to co-host today. I love talking about UFOs. They're so cool and mysterious.
I'm glad, Javier, but personally, I think it's all hype.
Yeah, but UFO stories are so fun. Like this one I heard. A bunch of people in a remote town saw a giant blue light appear on a desolate mountaintop. It made strange noises, like beeps and clicks. They tried to reach it, but it vanished.
Probably just a hiker with a bright headlamp who stopped to play a game on their smartphone before heading down the other side of the mountain.
Or this other time, a pilot saw a silver disc floating in the distance. But when the pilot approached it, the disc took off.
A lost birthday balloon that got picked up by a breeze and blew away.
Or that strange sound that came from a cloud.
Bird.
Or a swooping object
Bird.
a creature that dropped a mysterious white goo.
Bird.
Actually, yeah, that last one does sound like bird business. Well, I still like the stories.
Wait, Javier, did you eat the rest of the chips? I swear they were here just a second ago.
Wasn't me.
It must have been chip gnomes or Sasquatch. Or chip gnomes working with Sasquatch. Yeah, old Sassy busted open the window so the gnomes could sneak the chips right out from under our noses.
Or Marc and Sanden took them.
I don't know.
Thanks for letting us borrow your chips that we definitely just took, Molly.
Yeah, we promise not to give them back. Bye!
Truth is out there. And so are my chips. Get back here, you two! You're listening to Brains On from APM Studios. I'm Molly Bloom, and my co-host today is Javier from Rosemont, Minnesota. Hello, Javier.
I come in peace, Molly.
Today we're answering an out-of-this-world question.
My name is Alex. I live in Swindon, England. My question is, do UFOs exist?
Javier, when you hear the word UFO, what do you picture?
I picture like a disc or like the movie like E.T. Yeah.
Can you tell people about the movie E.T. in case they haven't seen it?
Alien named E.T. befriends a boy named Elliot. Elliot protects him from people who are trying to hunt him and do experiments on him. So Elliot helps him get back home. And in the end, he does.
Very nice. Is there a spaceship in it?
Yeah.
What does the spaceship in E.T. look like?
It's kind of like in the like bottom section, it's like a bulb kind of thing like that. And then another smaller bulb on top of it. And then just the pointy end. And the door just comes off.
Okay. So ET stands for extraterrestrial, which is another word for aliens.
Mhm.
And so they fly in a cool spaceship. So are there other UFOs you think about? Like, so it sounds like you thought about a disc. Are there other things that come to mind when you think UFO?
I guess like aliens that are like green.
Mm-hmm.
They have like the big head.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
Totally. Well, UFO stands for unidentified flying object.
That doesn't necessarily mean aliens. An unidentified flying object could be something totally normal that we just didn't recognize.
Like a shooting star blazing across the sky or a suspicious plastic bag in the wind.
Or it could be a human-made object that we're just not used to seeing.
Like a new type of plane that is still being tested or a scientific weather balloon.
So a UFO just means something in the sky that we can't identify.
But it's common for people to think of aliens when they hear UFO. Javier, have you ever seen anything you can't explain, UFO or otherwise?
Nothing weird or bananas.
And do you like thinking about UFOs and aliens? Is that fun or does it kind of creep you out?
I think it's cool to think about like Earth as just a big rock in a galaxy, and then space has tons of galaxies where they could have stars and planets. So it's cool to think of how like tiny we are compared to everything.
Totally. Big question. Do you think aliens exist?
Um Again, like the huge universe, there's probably going to be one. Like if you think about the Drake equation, do you know what it is?
I don't. Please tell me.
The Drake equation I think is taking, cuz there's like 200 billion trillion stars.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the Drake equation is like taking all of that and like considering the possibility of those stars having planets, because if you think about it, the sun is a star, so they could have planets, solar systems. So that's kind of what the Drake equation is.
Very cool. That's a great explanation. So there's so many planets out there.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, the chances of there being other living things is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think they haven't come to visit here on Earth yet?
Maybe because they don't think we're like advanced enough.
Mm.
And I don't know, maybe they think it's like don't take any offense, but they probably think we're like big monkeys.
They're like, it's kind of smelly down there.
Yeah, no.
We're good. I mean, it's also, those stars are so far away.
Yeah.
So the ability to be able to travel to another solar system would take some pretty advanced technology. So maybe no one's figured it out yet.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, if aliens did land on Earth, I know our listeners would be stellar ambassadors.
Yeah, we asked you what you would show an alien if they landed here on Earth, and your ideas were out of this world.
Hello, my name is Edward. I will take an alien visitor to the Atacama Desert into the South America, and then I will take it to Easter Island.
Hi, my name is Kaylee, and I think I would take aliens to our trampoline park near us because it's really fun and I think aliens would like it.
My name is Ishan, and I'm from Sunnyvale, California. If I were to take a group of alien visitors somewhere, I would take them to the museum because then they would learn everything over there.
Hi, I'm Ava. And I'm Hannah. We live in Lucknow, India. If aliens came to our door, I would take them to the Taj Mahal in Agra.
And I would take them to the Thinkery in Austin, Texas.
Hi, my name is Noah from New South Wales, Australia. And if I could take an alien anywhere, it would be a sports game.
Hi, my name is Joanna, and if I had aliens at my house, I would show them my beautiful unicorn bed sheets and my toys.
Hi, I'm Calvin from South Portland, Maine, and if aliens came to Earth and landed at my front door, I would bring them to an organic farm.
I'm Roxy. I would take an alien to my Grammy's house.
Thank you so much for sending in those ideas. And keep listening to the end of the episode where we're going to play more awesome listener responses. So I think I would take the aliens to a really cool hike, see some beautiful nature, a waterfall, that kind of thing. How about you, Javier? What would you take the aliens to see?
I would show them video game Fortnite.
Uh-huh.
And then the food I'd show them is pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And then the music I would show them is What a Wonderful World.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah. And then I'd show them the National Park Yellowstone.
Those are some really good things. What if they didn't like pizza?
I'd tell them to get off this planet.
You gotta love pizza. Everyone loves pizza. Come on, aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Get with it. Let's get back to the question we're answering today. Are unidentified flying objects real? Turns out there are lots of things in the sky we can't identify, but that doesn't mean they're aliens. Let's start by the name for...
Test. Okay, Sanden, I think we're live.
Maser beams. Nice work, Mark. We're coming in loud and clear now. Should I still push this button?
No, don't.
What was that? Did our show just cut out for a second there?
Yeah, it was almost like someone was playing a different show over ours.
Hold on, it looks like the signal is coming from the basement.
Huh. Let's go see what it is before it takes over the show again.
Okay, I fixed it. Just don't press any more buttons, Sanden.
But Mark, if I wasn't supposed to press them, then why are they so pressable?
Let's just get started.
Okay, hey, I'm Sanden the Skeptic.
And I'm Make Me Believe Mark.
We're here to look into the weird, wild, and wonderful world of myths, legends, and hoaxes.
We like myths, but we hate getting tricked, yeah. We like myths, but we hate getting tricked, yeah. We like myths, but we hate getting tricked. We hate getting tricked. No, we don't like it. That's right. This is Hoax Hunters.
The show where we look at outrageous stories and try to figure out what's real and what's baloney.
Yeah, we love a wild tale, but we hate getting duped.
Mark and I did a few episodes of Hoax Hunters during the Brains on Myths series.
And we were in the Crystals episode, too.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
That's a crystal.
Today, we're taking a special look at UFOs with our USBs.
That last one stands for Unflappable Skeptical Brains.
Unflappable high five, Mark. Okay, serious vibes now. Mark, how do you feel about unidentified flying objects?
Well, once I saw a weird light out in the sky in the desert. Probably wasn't aliens, but I kind of want to believe, you know?
Yeah. Personally, I don't think aliens have ever visited Earth. Full stop. Anyway, let's start with a story. This one comes from my very own great Aunt Birgit.
Sweetest lady you ever met. Made a mean apple pie.
She was a retired school teacher, a devoted churchgoer, and never fibbed. So I was shocked when she told me about the time she saw a UFO. It was way back in the late 1970s.
When disco was king, color TV was common, and the internet as we know it hadn't been born yet. In fact, few people even had computers at home.
Right. Aunt Birgit was driving at night, cruising through the empty, dark roads of northern Minnesota. She remembers being a little tired, but focused. In Minnesota, deer can jump out of nowhere. Your eyes have to stay glued on the road. So she noticed it right away. A big ball of light. It came up next to her car. There were no wheels, no driver, just a super bright, glowing something riding right next to her, as if it were looking in, watching her. Then her car lost power, and she rolled slowly to a halt. Suddenly, the light took off.
A close encounter of some kind.
Birgit swore it was true, but I didn't believe her. Until I came across a very similar story.
It's from a man named Val Johnson. He was a police officer who worked in the very same area Birgit was driving in that night. He was also driving his car in the late 70s, late at night.
Sound familiar?
When something caught his eye. Here's how he described it in an interview with Minnesota Public Radio a few years ago.
Saw this very bright light off in the distance. Thought it could be a semi with engine trouble or an aircraft that had difficulty and had landed on that straight stretch of road. So I went to investigate, and after I had accelerated towards its location, the light came up and joined me in the car, and it hit me like a 200-pound pillow in the face.
Val woke up a half an hour later. His car was in the ditch. Its windshield and a headlight were both smashed in. The car's antennas were bent back. And the weirdest thing? Both his watch and his car's clock were running 14 minutes slow.
14 minutes slow. 14 minutes, people? What does it mean? Mark, what does it mean?
No one knows. Val Johnson reported it. People came to study the car. No one could figure it out. So some people jumped straight to one idea, and it starts with an A and ends with liens.
A football team from New Orleans. I think they're called the Saints, actually.
Ugh, no, Sanden, aliens. Aliens!
That makes more sense to think that, yeah. Why would the Saints be in northern Minnesota anyways? I mean, there's not even an NFL stadium there, right?
And Val himself won't say it was aliens. Here he is again.
There was a lot of discussion and conjecture and ideas that were put forth, and that's fine. Everyone is entitled to their opinions, but I really have no definitive answer as to what truly happened out there. A lot of people are attributing this to some sort of UFO account. I don't know. I really don't know what happened.
Mark and I always want to make sure that the stories we're hearing are legit.
Because again, love myths, hate getting tricked.
Exactly. That's the whole point of Hoax Hunters. Here's why we believe this story from Val Johnson. First, we searched online. You can do this too. Just pause the episode and search Val Johnson UFO. It helps if you search under a news tab if there is one.
Take a look at the news organizations who wrote the articles you're finding. Do you see names like the Star Tribune, Pioneer Press, CBS News, and Minnesota Public Radio?
Just so you know, Brains On is part of the same company as Minnesota Public Radio.
Right. These all have long histories of accurate reporting, and lots of reporters and editors to make sure they get the story right.
Plus, in lots of the news articles, you can see original photos taken of Val's car, not just the same picture used over and over. Here's why this is all good evidence.
1. Multiple sources are saying the same thing, but they're not all just copying each other. They're doing their own original reporting. That means lots of people looked into this and learned the same thing.
2, these sources all have a long history of covering news. They've been doing this for decades, which means that people have trusted their work and supported them for a long time.
3, there are reports from lots of different years. That tells us people have looked into the story over and over again and still come to the same conclusion. New information hasn't come out calling it a hoax, though that could still happen one day.
And finally, none of these sources claim to know what hit Val Johnson's car, just that something happened late at night in the late 1970s. That tells us these are reporters who aren't jumping to conclusions they can't back up with evidence. They're sticking to what they can prove.
There are lots of sources out there that aren't worth trusting, like UFO stories written on personal websites or blogs written by just one person. It's hard to prove it if it's just one person's story. And if a source jumps to big claims with very little solid evidence, that's a red flag.
So, bottom line, Val Johnson's story is believable and easy to double check yourself. I mean, it's not like we're exposing some deep secret history.
Right. No government agents are about to knock on our door saying, "You've said too much." Oh no! I have said too much!
Sanden? Mark? What's going on here?
We were doing our episode and you two kept coming in over our speakers.
Oh, fiddlesticks.
Sanden, which buttons did you press before we started taping?
Only all of them?
Sorry, Molly and Javier. Sanden and I were just taping our latest episode of Hoax Hunters, all about UFOs.
Oh, yeah. Hoax Hunters is the show you two do about the weird, wild, and wonderful world of myths, legends, and hoaxes.
Exactly. We were taping when someone...
He means me.
...hit the button to override any other podcasts in the building. I'll turn it off.
Actually, this is perfect. We're also doing an episode about UFOs. Mind if we crash yours? I love the vibe down here. Old Christmas lights and black light posters. Very cool.
Sure. A fellow black light poster enthusiast? The more the merrier.
Speaking of chips, there they are.
Molly, no one said chip.
Return to me, my crispy children.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for letting us borrow those, Molly.
Chips, how I miss you. That sound is music to my mouth. Oh, and speaking of sounds, I almost forgot. Javier, we still have to do the... Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, here it is. What is your guess?
Maybe someone like walking across a pond in winter and the ice is breaking?
That is a great guess. I don't know what it is either. I am stumped. Let's hear it again.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think? Same guess? New thoughts?
I think it's the same thing still.
Yeah, I mean, as I was listening, thinking of what you said, I was like, I think he's 100% correct. I mean, the wind blowing,
Mm-hmm.
the cracking sound. Okay, well, we're going to hear it again, guess again, and then hear the answer after the credits. We'll be back. We'll be.
Ahem.
Yes?
Well, this is our studio and our show, so we should get to say it, don't you think?
Oh, sure. By all means.
We'll be back with the answers at the end of the show.
And stick around, because coming up, we're going to hear about the first major UFO sighting reported in the U.S.
And we'll use our skeptical brains to think about what might really be going on. And the answer probably isn't aliens.
Brains on.
Welcome back to Hoax Hunters. I'm Marc.
And I'm Sanden.
Hey, I'm Javier and Molly's here too.
Don't mind me. You do your show while I catch up with this bowl of chips. So, how you been? Seen any new dips lately?
Before the break, we were talking about the mysterious case of Val Johnson and his claim that a big bright light hit his car.
That bright light qualifies as an unidentified flying object. It's something flying, and we don't know what it was.
Hey, so that answers the question. UFOs do exist.
Yeah, in fact, even the U.S. government will admit that. They actually put out a whole report on it a few years ago. More on that in a bit.
But that doesn't mean an unidentified flying object is an alien.
Right. It just means someone saw something and we don't know what it is.
The very first big case of this in the U.S., the one that kicked off the interest in flying saucers, happened less than 100 years ago. The year was 1947.
Things weren't that different from today. They had cars and electricity. Some households even had a small TV, but all the pictures were black and white. This was long before the internet, though.
So in 1947, a guy named Kenneth Arnold was flying his own plane in Washington state, not too far from a really big mountain called Mount Rainier. It was around 3 in the afternoon when he saw a flash of light in the distance. He thought it might be a military plane, so he tried to get a better look. Soon, he saw more flashes of light.
Kenneth counted 9 round flying objects. He tried to track them, and by his best guess, they were going over 1,000 miles an hour. That's way faster than any known planes at the time. He said these objects kind of bobbed and weaved, like they were connected by a string. To reporters at the time, his exact words were,
"Like the tail of a Chinese kite."
Reporters called these objects flying saucers, and the name stuck.
Soon, more reports came in from around the country of people seeing similar things. This launched the UFO phenomenon as we know it.
Wow.
That's a neat bit of history.
Since then, there have been all sorts of strange stories. Some easy to explain, and others a little harder.
Like a supposed alien spaceship that crash-landed around Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh, I've heard of Roswell. A farmer said he found a crashed ship full of weird materials and designs.
It was weird, but it wasn't aliens. The government eventually admitted it was a top-secret balloon project. Balloons were used a lot back then for experimental research. That might have been why so many people thought they saw flying saucers.
And then there were stories about people being abducted by aliens.
That's when someone says an alien brought them up into their ship, right? Like with a beam of light or something?
Yep, but it's super hard to prove whether any of these actually happened because it's just one person's story, and anyone can make up a story. No hard, real evidence.
Yeah, so lots of stories, but so far, no solid proof of aliens.
Then, in 2022, the U.S. government released a report with all the evidence gathered over the years about weird flying thingies. The government started calling them UAPs, or unidentified aerial phenomena.
UAP isn't quite as catchy as UFO, if you ask me.
Agreed. The report included military videos. These are real, and you can look them up online yourself. In one, you see this grainy footage of a seed-like shape just hovering in the air.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
In case you didn't catch that, those were two pilots saying they're going against the wind. The wind is 120 knots to the west. Look at that thing, dude. Some of the things in the government report were easily debunked. Others might have been weird camera effects or rare weather phenomena. Or they might have even been new types of planes that other governments were testing out secretly.
But plenty of them remained a mystery. The government was basically like, shruggy emoji? Who knows? But the government didn't jump to the idea that it was aliens.
Right. You would need solid evidence to make a big claim like that, especially when there are so many other possibilities.
Exactly. So, Javier, I heard you want to be a pilot, right? What would you do if you saw something weird in the skies?
I would reach for my camera, maybe take a video of it, and chase it and alert my squadron members if I have any.
I like it. That's a good idea. Okay. Well, a lot of people, both those who believe in aliens and those who don't, want pilots to feel okay talking about the weird stuff they see.
Yeah, because for a long time, if a pilot said they saw a UFO or UAP, they wouldn't be taken seriously. People might say they were claiming to have seen aliens when all they really saw was something they couldn't explain.
Kinda like that Val Johnson guy you mentioned. Some people thought he was hit by aliens, but he just said there was a big light and something happened. He didn't know what.
Exactly, Javier. So we should be more comfortable with the idea that people sometimes experience things we can't explain.
And maybe someday someone will come up with an explanation that will help it make sense.
Yeah, like that Val Johnson story. It kind of sounds like ball lightning to me.
Ball lightning?
Yeah, we talked about it in our lightning episode. It's lightning shaped like a glowing orb that can hover or move around. It's super rare and we don't fully understand it, but we know enough to say it's real and can do strange things.
Cool.
Huh, yeah. You know, one thing I always thought about Aunt Birgit's story, she would never lie, but maybe she didn't really remember what happened that night.
Aunt Birgit? What do you mean?
Well, when she told me this story, it had been decades since she claimed it happened. There's this phenomenon in psychology called a false memory. It's when sometimes you can remember something that didn't happen at all. Or maybe you misremember something that did happen. Maybe my Aunt Birgit heard this story about Val Johnson, and later she forgot where she heard it. Then, when she remembered it, she thought it happened to her.
Huh, that seems like it could be true. So does the ball lightning thing.
Precisely! This is the kind of skeptical thinking that Hoax Hunters is here for.
Molly, Javier, excellent work. You two deserve to be honorary Hoax Hunters. Way to go.
Thanks, I'm super honored.
Well, this has been cool. Thank you, Marc and Sanden. Now, if you don't mind, I really need to go drink some water. Those chips were salty, and I ate so many. So many.
Yeah, thanks, Hoax Hunters. Later.
No problem. Remember, stay curious
and skeptical.
A UFO or UAP is just something that was spotted in the air and no one is quite sure what it is. The first major UFO sighting happened in 1947.
There have been lots of UFOs and UAPs spotted since then. Some have turned out to be hoaxes or government projects. Others remain a mystery.
One good way to see if something is worth taking seriously is to check what trustworthy news organizations have to say.
A trustworthy news organization is one that does its own reporting, has a history of getting stories right, and looks for solid evidence to back up its claims. That's it for this episode of Brains On, and make sure to stick around until after the credits to hear more listener ideas about where to take visiting aliens.
This episode was produced by Molly Bloom, Rosie DuPont, Anna Goldfield, Aron Woldeslassie, Anna Wegel, Nico Gonzalez Whistler, Ruby Guthrie, and Mark Sanchez.
Our editors are Sanden Totten and Shayla Farzan. This episode was sound designed by Rachel Breeze. Beth Perlman is our executive producer. We had engineering help from Josh Savageau. The executives in charge of APM Studios are Chandra Kavati and Joanne Griffith. Special thanks to John Enger, Adrian Lafitte, Aaron Anderson Lafitte, Matthias, and Tomas.
Brains On is a non-profit public radio program.
There are lots of ways to support the show. Subscribe to Brains On Universe on YouTube, where you can watch animated versions of some of your favorite episodes. Or head to brainson.org, where you can send us mystery sounds, drawings, and questions. Okay, Javier, are you ready to listen to that mystery sound again?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Here it is. Okay, any new thoughts? Sticking with your answer. I have no idea what it is, so don't let me sway you in any way.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with my answer.
Wonderful. I'm going to guess squirrels breaking a glass by mistake.
Yeah.
And then cleaning it up.
Yes, I like that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see what the answer is.
Hi, my name is Ezra, and I'm from Rollsville, North Carolina, and that was the sound of my dad knocking icicles off the roof.
Okay. You were so close.
Yeah, it wasn't breaking ice on a pond. It was the icicles.
So close. But you recognize that ice sound.
Yeah, there was an icy sound to it.
Very, very good. My squirrel guess, not as accurate.
It's okay.
Nice work. Okay, here are some more excellent ideas from our listeners about what they think the aliens should see here on Earth.
I would take a group of alien visitors to a museum with dinosaur bones so they could learn about ancient things.
My name's Elliot. I would take them to my gymnastics class.
Hi, my name's Leo, and I would send the aliens to the ballet show.
Hi, I'm Anya. I live in Germany, and if I would see a group of aliens and they would ask me to show them planet Earth, I would take them to my grandpa who lives in Augsburg. Augsburg is a city in western Bavaria, and I would do that because my grandpa does city tours, and so then they can get showed around in the city, Augsburg.
I see aliens come to Earth, I would take them to the campsite, and I would teach them how to be kind to animals.
International. And where I would take aliens, if they ever visited, is the zoo. Hi, my name is Benji, and I would take them to the airport to see the cool airplanes.
My name is Rayleigh, and I live in Okinawa, Japan. And if aliens showed up at my front door, I would take them to the library to read all my favorite books.
My name is Luca. If an alien showed up at my house in Pittsburgh, North Carolina, I would teach them how to ride a bike.
Hi, my name is Izzy, and I'm from California, and this is where I would take my aliens if they came to planet Earth, to my school so they could see my friends.
My name is Sid, and I am from Philadelphia, and I would take them to the Bahamas to go to the Pirate Museum and get them treasure at the gift shop.
I would take the aliens on a roller coaster.
Thank you so much for those excellent ideas. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Make sure to check out all our great podcasts, Brains On, Smash Boom Best, Forever Ago, and Moment of See you next time.
Thanks for listening.